Hi and welcome to my video. I have been filming more than one video a day, so there's going to be a couple where I'm just wearing the same outfits in because Christmas season is busy. I think whether you celebrate it or not, it just becomes a hectic time of year. So I've been trying to film as much as possible so I have some backlogged videos so I don't end up having to miss uploads or anything. But today I wanted to do a review of That Reminds Me by Derek Owusu. I read this at the start of December and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. It stayed with me and I really enjoyed this book. This book stuck with me and I just felt like I really wanted to talk about it, especially because it's not super popular, so I don't see many videos about it, well, I haven't seen any videos about it to be honest, and it hasn't got like a huge number of reviews on Goodreads or anything, and I think Derek definitely needs the support and hype and I'm fully happy to support him. So That Reminds Me, it is, you probably find it in the poetry section of a bookshop because it's a story written in prose. It's a bit different to like the Poet X in that it more obscure, the poetry in it, like the prose, whereas like the Poet X is written in verse, so that each section or page is a poem. This is like a continuous story, but each memory is like in prose. I'm really bad at explaining that. I don't know why I tried. So basically it's about a boy called Kay. We start at his birth and the story is told in fragments of his memories, so even though it's in chronological order, like from birth to adulthood, it's not like, you know, when he was 5 this happened. It's like fragments of his memory, so it could be about really random things. It might be about a conversation with his mum, or there's a part that's about the 2011 riots in London, which was a big, really big thing and very important for a lot of the black community. Very destructive as well. And this book was really well done. It stayed with me a lot. I found myself very attached to Kay and really like heartbroken for him. He's a very like sensitive person, emotional. You see how much he changes from a little boy to like early teens to late teens to like early adulthood, late adulthood. Like you see how much his identity and him as a person changes. And he is of is Ghanaian descent, but he's British, so it kind of interweaves some folklore at the beginning of each section. But first, before I go into what I liked about it, I want to share some of my, I guess, criticism of it. I gave this 4 stars. I wanted to give it 5, but I couldn't quite. Some of my criticisms of it is that it's not actually Derek's fault, it's actually my fault. And it's that I didn't always totally have a clear picture of what's going on. And I know you don't need to always have a full idea of what's happening when it comes to like prose or poetry, but at some points I just got confused. I don't want to give any spoilers away because I think you should read it, and I don't think you should just like watch this and not read it at all. But there were points where I wasn't sure, I thought I knew what was going on, then something like later on I'd be like, wait, that contradicts what I thought was happening. So at times I got a bit confused, and I think that is just me. But it also encourages me to reread this so that I can make sure I did understand, or maybe see how I interpret things at a later date. One thing I do when I read books is if I'm annotating, I'll pick a colour pen or whatever, or specific colour tabs depending on the book, and I'll stick to that colour and I'll write the date that I've read it in that colour, so that when I want to reread it, or if I want to reread it, I can pick a different colour and you can see like any changes. Slightly anal version of annotating, I guess. So I stuck to like purple, I think was the colour I chose for this book, because I want to reread it and see in the future, not now, but see if my interpretations or understanding of this book is different or better or worse. But because at points I got confused, it broke the immersion a little bit for me in Kay's story. And another reason why I give 4 stars is because I think it should have ended 2 pages earlier. Not even 2 pages earlier, it's actually about 4. So basically more or less each page is like, for example this, like that's one memory, so that's one set of prose, and that's a separate memory. It's a separate set of prose here. Each sort of page, or more or less, has its own memory on it. So in the last section on page of my book, which is 109, I think it should have ended there because stuff happens, I'm not going to give it away, but I was like so emotional. My heart, like I was like tears in my eyes. I was just like, my god. And that would have been an incredibly powerful ending, but it kind of like has a couple more, like 4, I think, more like memories in the future, and it still has like kind of a emotional ending, but it doesn't have the same impact because it kind of like ties some things up and has a slightly happier slant than if it just ended at that point, and it would have been punchy and powerful, and it would have left you not knowing. And I think there is value in not knowing what's happening sometimes, and not knowing if someone's okay or not okay, and not knowing what the future is, and letting yourself decide what you would like and what you think has happened. So I wish it had stopped there and not had the 4 extra poems or the 4 extra prose. Yeah, because I cared so much on that page, and that page like hit me hard. So I didn't really want to read the last few pages. I did, obviously, but I was like, no, it should have ended earlier because I cared, and I was left punched sort of in the heart, and it should have finished there. But that's my only sort of criticism I have of it. Like I said already, I cared a lot about Kay. I cared a lot about his journey. I thought the prose were really good at times, and I felt creative in it. I felt like I wanted to draw at the bottom of pages, so some pages I did. I felt like connected and creative, and I felt drawn into his story, and at times I wanted to be like, oh, okay, and at times I just wanted to pluck him from the page and give him love, because he's just, at the beginning especially, he's just a little boy, a hurt little boy, and you just want to save him from it. And as you see things developing, you see his sort of mental health decline and things, you just like want to pluck him from the page and make it all okay. And I think that's not an easy thing to do, really, and especially in prose, in such a short, like it's very short amount of time, and in a few words, much less words than a standard novel or novella, and make someone really care. That's tough work. Like, well done, Derek. I cared so much. And I know that he's releasing a new book next year, which I think is something like Teaching My Brother to Read or something. I think it's called that. I'll have to check. But I just can't wait. I want to see what else he brings. I'm really, really impressed with what he's written. I think this is his first release, and I think it's great. I feel like I'm constantly reading like new releases right now. But I just think if this is what he can bring in this, do more, man. Do more. It's really, really good, and I just wanted to give it the time and attention on this platform that it deserves, really. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. I don't want to go on too long, but read this book. That Reminds Me by Derek Owusu. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If you're ready for a little bit of an emotional ride, and yeah, happy reading. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you around.